What up folks, this is GK. So in this video, I'm going to give you all the important Linux commands that you should be aware of. Not only Linux commands, but I'm going to tell you where these Linux commands I've used in my past experience and what are important from the interview standpoint of view as well. So this is one video, that's all you need for Linux. And if anybody is teaching you how to install Linux these days,
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
because you don't need to know how to install Linux. So follow along with this video, download it, and then take a Linux terminal, then keep practicing everything that I'm showing in this video. So first I'm going to cover the basic navigation commands, which is ls. It is used everywhere obviously. So all these basic commands you should know. So ls is to list directory content. And then if you want to change to a directory, but before that, let's say you do not know what is the directory, you can do ls -ltr. And whenever there is a directory, it shows it as D. So DILM. So that's how you can change to a directory. And if you are not aware of where you are, you can type pwd, which is present working directory. Now if you want to create a directory, I'm going to use the command mkdir test. And then if you want to remove directory, I can do mdir test, or I can also do rm -r test. There is no such directory, but if you do that, then it will also recursively delete the files which are there inside the test directory. And there is also f, which will forcefully remove the directory. Let's say if you want to create a file, you can touch gk, and when you do ls -ltr, you will see that it's a 0-byte file. Okay, if somebody would ask you in the interview how to create a 0-byte file, this is one way of doing it. And now if you want to copy, let's say gk to a different directory, or to some other directory, let's say I want to copy gk file to ilm, which is a directory, I can just do that. So if I want to see if gk is copied, ls ilm / and you're going to see there is a file that got copied here. So copy means that the file will still be here, right? But if you want to, like Windows way, cut pasting the file or moving the file, then you can do mvgk ilm. That's it. So that will remove the file from here. Then you can also go to ilm directory, and if you do not want that file, you can just do rm. You can just type rmgk. That is going to delete the file. And another most important basic navigation commands that you should be aware of is find. So let's say that you do not know. Maybe let me create a scenario. If I go to ilm, okay, and there is a file called main.tf, and I'm writing a Terraform file, and I do not know where that file is actually within multiple directories or multiple files. So this is where most commonly we use find, and this is where you're going to use find heavily. So I'm going to clear the screen and say find dot is from this current working directory to all the recursive directories and its files. It will start searching from here. If you say /, it's going to start with the root directory. But let's say I want to type find dot -name and main.tf. It will list all the main.tf files that are existing, that are there in different directories. So as you know, we want to get to a main.tf file which is in ilm, and we got that here. One interview tip is also you can use mtype and other things. So I will give that as an assignment for you. So try to find different ways of finding files and then sort them by using pipe, etc. Then practice a find command more, as this is very important, not only from the interview perspective, but in your day-to-day job activities. Now these are all the basic commands, and now let's look at file management commands. So let's say that I have certain files here. Maybe I'll take this vault config, which is a directory. I'll take config.hcl. So if I want to open the file, there are multiple ways of opening the file. You can open that file using your own favorite editor. Like in Windows, you have Notepad. You also have editors in Unix and Linux, and the one famous editor is VI. So you can open the file by using VI editor, and then you should know all the commands that to manipulate this file in VI. For instance, if I have to modify the file, I have to go into the insert, and then if I have to go outside of this file, escape WQ. But again, please keep practicing the VI commands. But there is another way of opening the file without actually opening it in the editor itself. So that is to use command called concatenate and display file contents, which is cat. Let me clear the content. Let me clear the contents and cat config.hcl. Now it will show you the whole content of the file. Now because this file is small and it is just fitting within this resolution of my monitor, I do not have to go up and down. But let's say that if you have a bigger file, then what you can do is you can type more config.hcl, and when you do this, if the file is larger than the screen size, then you can just enter, and then you can just type enter, and then you can go and watch the content of file line by line. That would be easier. And another important interview question which is asked is displaying the beginning of a file. So if we want to do that, you can type head config.hcl. It will show you at the top, and then tail config.hcl will show you at the bottom of the file. Okay, as you can see, the head showed me the top part, and then the bottom part is shown by tail. And one common command that you're gonna use most often is tail -f. Let's say var log messages. I'm not using a proper Linux server here because I'm using Windows subsystem for Linux, which is WSL on Windows. So that's why I do not have log messages. But let's say if you want to buffer the messages or look at the issues that are happening inside an application, then you can use var log messages or var log whatever that file is. What will that do is it will show you the contents of the log files in the live mode, which means you do not have to refresh. It will be buffering on your screen as in when the log file is getting generated, or as in when the contents of the files are getting generated. Content of the file is getting generated. So that is another very important command that everybody uses in their day-to-day job. So do practice that command. And then another file management command is chmod, is to change the permissions of the file. Now, for instance, when I did ls-ltr vault, I want to change the permission of this file so that everybody, irrespective of who is the owner of this file, can read, write, execute, and do everything. For instance, currently this file can be read and written by me, the owner, and others can only read this file, right? So there are certain permissions that you can use with numbers, and as well as using normal English. Like for instance, if you want to change the permission of this file, chmod, okay, which is also called change file permissions, and let's say if I type O plus X and then vault svc JSON. So what will happen now if I do ls-ltr vault svc.json? So this file got executable permission. We gave executable permission for others, okay, who are not part of the group. So that way you can also give full permissions, which is a very dangerous command, chmod 777. So what that will do is it will make this file executable. It can be executed by anybody, irrespective of whether they are having access to your directory or not. For instance, because Linux is a multi-user operating system, many users and many groups will be accessing the same environment or server or a VM. So let's say they have their own user account. From their user account as well, they can execute your file, which is not the right permission to add. So many system admins or many DevOps engineers have the bad practice of giving 777s basically whenever it's not needed, though it is not needed. Be conscious of that, and then understand what each permission does, when you're trying to give permissions, and do practice this more. The next command is chowner. So when I do ls-ltr again, or if you see here, each file is owned by me and I'm part of the same group. So if you want to change the ownership of this file, I can do chown and change the ownership of the group, which is called chown. So that will help you to change the ownership of the file to a different group. For instance, this script db.sh is owned by the root user. Now let's say if I want to create a file, let's say touch gk again, and I want to add something to that file, echo so I have added some files, and then now if I want to change the permission, chown root okay. Ownership operation is not permitted for this file because now I'm not as a root user. Let's say if I do sudo and run the same command, so that will change the permission of the file. And now if I type gk, then you will see that the permission of the file and the ownership of the file, the ownership of the file has been changed to root user and part of the root group. So that is another important command. So where you use this is, let's say you are installing softwares, Apache or whatever it is, and if you want to change the permissions, or if you want to change the ownership of the group, ownership of that config files or those files, then you can use this command, and this is very commonly used. Like I've said at the beginning, if I'm missing anything that you are aware of that you use in your day-to-day work, please let me know in the comment section. But do wait till end of the video, because you will only know when I'm covering all the commands before you can comment. And another important, system monitoring and management, very important. I've been asked multiple times in past. If you are if you are going into an entry level DevOps engineer or an SRE engineer, these commands will be often asked. Now one common command is ps-ef, which will list all the processes that are currently running, which is a snapshot of the current processes. And you can also filter them by using ps-ef and grep. Let's say if you want to filter what are running with, like, let's say bash or something, then I can just say bash. So this is what is currently running as a process, but also it shows your grep that you have just executed. You can also remove that by using grep v grep. So now it will show you the exact actual bash that you're looking for without the command that you're currently running. Okay, so that's one. And then another important command is top. So there are a lot of interview questions asked here in the top itself. For instance, you can find how do you find the memory of your system, which you can find from top. How you can find the free memory of your system, which also can be found from the top. And then the common thing that SRE engineers use for top is to find the health of the operating system. Like for instance, what is the total CPU used, and how much is pending, what is remaining CPU, and then the load average. So do Google search on what is the load average, what these three terms are based on the time, how it is calculated, and what should be the ideal load average. How do you calculate the ideal load average for your system? Okay, so that's about top. You can type Q to come out of top, because this is a real-time sort of a monitoring system that happens as applications are currently running. Okay, so the next command is df. Df will show all the disk file utilization, etc. For instance, the slash is my root file system, and how many blocks are available. Df minus m, that will show in megabytes. Okay, and df minus h is another command that will show in the gigabytes. And another command to estimate the file space usage is du minus sh. Wherever you are running this command from, that is currently using 844 MB. Okay, and you can also type star to list all the files and their current usage of the files. So now where this is used is that, let's say you're running out of space, and if you want to remove some unnecessary files, let's say vault is not needed for me, or this file that is currently here, this is just a software that I've downloaded and it's not needed anymore. I can just use rm-rf to remove this file. okay, and that will release some space from my current working directory. So that's another important du command. And free, like I've said, you can also use free to find the total memory, swap, etc. And free minus m will show in megabytes. And uptime will show you the total time the system has been up. For instance, my laptop has been up since 31 minutes. And another command, important command, is kill, to kill the process, and kill -9, and the process ID is commonly used command. Like for instance, if I do ps -ef, and let's say if I want to kill any of these command, then the process ID is shown here. You just have to kill -9, and then that process ID would kill the process. And now let's move on to networking commands. The most common networking command everybody should be aware of without googling is ifconfig, to get all the IP address information of your system, and ping, to ping if a system is up or down. But again, ping is usually disabled in because of the security reasons. If you want to debug something in your local environment, then ping is very important command. Let's say for instance, if you want to search if my internet is actually up and running, I'll do ping google.com to see what is my latency and whether my internet connection is okay or not. Everybody knows this command. And the next one is very, very important, netstat. So where this command is usually used, it actually prints your networking connections, route tables, interface statistics, and multicast memberships, etc. But one thing that is commonly used with netstat is to check whether a port is open or not. So netstat -anp grep port will give you whether that port is open to take the connections or not. So I became as a root user now, and then I'm going to run this command, netstat -anp grep port, and there is no process that is currently running, and there is nothing that is currently running, and that is running on port 80. So that is one important netstat command. The next one is trace root, to trace the root packets take to network host. For instance, trace root install now. If I do this again, you're going to see trace route to google.com, what are the different hops it takes to reach to the google.com, etc. And this is used mostly whenever, let's say, you have a microservice or you have a load balancer and you want to get the trace route of that different interface from your environment, your server. You can try that out. If you're not able to reach to a system and you want to check what happened or what is down or how many hops it is taking, where exactly is the issue, then you would use trace route. Another important command is curl. It will help you to transfer data from or to a server. Google.com will give you the output of the actual google.com. The example where you use curl is, let's say you have hosted a Apache web server and you do not have browser to open and check what happened with that web server or Nginx. Then you do curl. You just run curl, and then the web page, it will download the content of the web page and show you whether the web page is up and running or not. Let's say it shows you the contents of the file, contents of the web page, and then you can decide whether the web server is up or down. And another important command is wget, to download, retrieve the files from the web. Let's say if you want to download a zip file or something, then you can use wget. Let's say I've downloaded this Jenkins key. This is one way of downloading the file. And now let's look at text processing. Text processing are common interview questions that are asked. What comes under text processing is grep, which I've shown you before. If you want to search for a pattern within a text, okay, for instance, I want to search grep hello. Let me go back, grep hello gk, and it found a pattern inside this file called gk, and the text is hello world. Okay, if you want to find certain patterns within a text, you can do that. Also, you can use grep to find patterns in processes and other things as well. Like for instance, like I've said ps minus ef, and grep bash will give you only the processes that has bash keyword. Another important command that I've said in many of my videos is awk. So in interviews, they won't ask you, hey, explain me awk, but they'll ask you about, like, I have 2 columns, or I have 3 columns. I want to print only first and second column. I cannot count how many number of times I've got this question many years back. Not sure if it is still relevant, but this is very important command even when you're writing your own shell script within your day-to-day work. So for instance, if I want to print first and third column, I can type awk. Now let's say that if you have to write a shell script, when you do ps, I want to get the process IDs only, and the way you can do that is you can do ps, right, and then pipe awk print $1, which is for the first column, which is this column right here, this column. If you do print 2, then you want to get TTY, which is of no use. So here you got the process IDs. But let's say if you want to get the process ID of bash, then you want to grab bash, then you're going to type another one. And so now you're going to do multi-level filtering to get the process ID of bash. That's how you can use awk. Okay. And another important command is sed. So using sed, I want to replace this word hello called hello world and replace hello with yellow. Let's say if you want to do that, sed -s hello yellow gk. Another important command is unique. We have some content here. If I type sort gk and unique, it's going to give me only unique things inside this file. For instance, there are 2 hellos which I don't need. I just want the unique words in this file. Okay, so that's one use case. And another important command is to get the word count. Okay, now for instance, if I want to grep hello in gk, I got 3. But let's say if I want to execute this in the shell script, or without actually looking into the content of the file, I want to know how many times the word hello got repeated. Then I can type grep hello file gk and wc -l. So these many times the word hello has been repeated in the file gk. So let's go to the 6th one, which is file compression. Another important command that you use day in, day out to compress the file or uncompress the file. For instance, the common archiving tool is tar. If I want to compress this gk file, then I can do tar -c for compression vf, and then I'm going to create gk.tar and then gk. That's it. And now you will see a tar file. The file has been compressed into tar. Like it's like your zip file in Windows. If you want to extract that, you can type tar -xvf to extract the tar file. If I go back and if I type ls-ltr, it has been extracted here. Similarly, there are tools like gzip or gunzip, which would do the same thing. Okay, if it is a zip, then you can type unzip to zip the file. For instance, if I type zip gk.zip and the file is gk, I do not have a zip here, but you got it. It's the same to tar. It's going to zip the file with extension .zip. When it comes to user management, the 7th topic. So whenever you are logged in and you want to know how many users are there or how many users are currently logged in, you can type who. There are none on my system. You can type who am I to check who you are, which is me. And then if you want to add a user add gkc we'll add a new user, and then if I want to add a password for the user, so gkc password has been updated successfully. And if I want to switch to a different user called gkc, I can do this. No directory has been created for that user. But anyways, the user is created. If I type who am I would be actually in the gkc user. Okay, and if I want to remove the user del gkc would delete the user. So now let's go to the system information. Now there are few commands at system information level which are used. Like for instance, they will ask you in the interview how to identify what operating system you are currently using. You can type uname -a, that will give you the processor as well as the operating system. You can also type host name to get actually the host name. And then if you want to get the CPU information, you can CPU, and there is another command as well in Red Hat Linux, which is cat proc CPU info, which works in Ubuntu as well. So this is one another important way of getting the CPU information. So this is not a common question, but sometimes they will ask you to just get your understanding. It's like a probing question. How many different ways you can get the CPU information? Like for instance, top is one command, CPU information, get cat proc CPU info is one command, and then ls CPU is another command. Okay. Similarly, if you want to get the disk information as well about block devices, lsblk. So fail to access here, no such file or directory. Anyways, this will definitely work in your other operating systems because maybe it is something to do with my WSL. So ninth topic is disk management. So when you are working on any VM or anywhere in a Linux environment, you have to mount certain volumes. For instance, if you're working on an EC2 instance as well, you have to mount different volumes, and these commands you have to know, because you might have to automate this through Terraform or through CloudFormation. Most probably there might be some predefined libraries that will do the job for you, but this is fundamental stuff that you should be aware of. For instance, if you want to get all the partition table information, as soon as you mount a volume to your VM, if you want to create a partition out of it and then create a and then format it, etc., the command to first understand the command to first display all the partition table is fdisk. To get all the partition information, this will again, like I've said, it will work in your Linux terminal. It will give you all the different partitions, and then you can type mkfs.ext4, which is the formatting type. Like for instance, in Windows, I think we use NTFS or FAT32, etc. So these are different types of file systems, and then you can, based on the partitions that you get, like dev sdb1, let's say that is a hard disk that we have added, or that is the mount, that is the new disk that we have added, then you have to type that, and then it is going to format. Ultimately, you can mount that thing. If you have any questions on this, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to create a separate video or quick video on how to do that, but it's very easy. So another basic miscellaneous commands are, like for instance, yum install to install on a Red Hat based operating systems. If you're using Ubuntu, then apt get install, let's say it's ctpd, and this is the way you're going to use in Ubuntu based distros, Debian based distros. This is to install the packages from internet, okay, like how you use your app store. And then date is to get the date, and if you want to clear the screen, you must have already aware of this now. Clear the screen. And if you want to get any manual of any command, let's say man sort will give you what the sort command does and then how to use the sort command. Okay, and if you're using Red Hat based operating systems, you have to know how to use RPM, -QA, etc. This won't be useful here. That's more like Red Hat package manager commands. This is pretty much it. And if you are aware of all these commands with some additional parameters, then you should be good enough as far as working as a cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer on Linux environment. But then you have to practice some shell scripts, some basic shell scripts using these same commands, etc., to do certain operations. that's pretty much it. And like I've said again, if I have forgotten anything that you are aware of and that I've missed in this video, please let me know in the comment section. And I hope that this video is going to be helpful for all the new beginners who are trying to get into DevOps. And if you have any questions, let me know. If not, do subscribe to this channel. Thank you all again for watching. Take care. Bye.